Hey, Zach McDonald with Real Property Associates here. This is episode number 2 of my offer review series, and in this situation, I was representing the seller in the transaction. What I want to talk about today is the idea that some offers are not worth responding to. And what brings me to this is, I'll paint the picture really quick. So the listing, this particular listing's been on the market for 20 or so days, a little bit over that mark. And at that point, typically people start to think, oh, there's something wrong with it. Maybe we can get a deal here. Sometimes even the seller starts to question the price, and rightfully so. If your house has been on the market for 20 to 30 days in the Seattle area real estate market, depending on where you're located, that is an indication that maybe we're a little bit off base on price. But in this situation, it's hard to argue that, since it's a condo complex and almost all of the condos, one bed, one bath, similar units are all selling for about the same price. So pretty easy to anchor the negotiation in that direction. Now, in this situation, the buyer was a cash buyer, an investor. We know that because they're a trust purchasing the property or making the offer. They came in 12% low on their offer, which is pretty low. I guess at a higher price point you could do that, but in this situation, my seller was insulted by the offer, and their response was just let them know that we're not going to be responding to it. So I think that's the right response in some situations. This particular buyer, and this is something that investors do pretty frequently, is they will make what we call a lowball offer, or and what they're hoping to do is anchor the negotiation downward, so anchor it in their favor. And this is a common practice in negotiation, to try to anchor the negotiation in your favor. So we set a purchase price, and that's our anchor, so to speak, and so we're expecting them to come in somewhere close to that. And a buyer psychologically wants to do that. The other side of that is the buyer wants to get a deal and maybe get a discount, so they're going to try to anchor the negotiation downwards. What happens in this situation, though, is when the offer comes in that low, the seller ultimately has to decide, do we want to even respond to this and play their game, and then respond back maybe with a full price counter offer, or they can just simply do like this particular seller did, and they're like, I don't even want to respond. And I think either of those are okay. When you get enough of those insulting offers, you just kind of want to tell them to take a hike. And if you let them know respectfully that their offer was insulting, sometimes if a buyer's actually serious, they'll come back and make a better offer the second time. And if they're not serious, they're probably going to make an offer on 2 or 3 other places in the next couple days. And that's just typical. That's not how all investors operate, but I have experienced that more often than not with investors that maybe are just kind of waiting around, and they're trying to find a big deal. Now, a couple notes to buyers. If you're a buyer and you're making an offer to a seller, what you want to do is you want your offer to be within what's called their zone of possible agreement, or ZOPA. This is a negotiation phraseology, kind of terminology. But you want to make sure that your offer is within reason. So it's great to get a deal, and it's really hard to get a deal in Seattle's hot market right now. But if a home has been on the market for 14 to 20 days, typically sellers are more open to the idea that their house is overpriced, and they might be willing to take a lower offer. But when you make your offer, it needs to fit into that range where they might be willing to accept it. So coming in 12-15% low is pretty much insulting. So you don't want to insult the seller. You want to come in where they might be willing to accept it, and if you do, there's room for negotiation and maybe getting a deal. So that's all I've got for you today. Stay tuned, and I'll have more of these here soon. Bye for now.